The jury got to see video evidence of Letecia absolutely showing out, and they got to see the real Letecia Stauch inside the courtroom in front of them, and we're going to talk about it in today's video. Hello Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. That's the sofa behind me with Mr. Roscoe P. Coltrane. He's holding it down back there. And my name is Paul. Now, today we're going to be talking about more Letecia Stauch trial. A lot of you have asked me to talk about this. I've been working, it's been crazy, and so I'm finally able to sit down and make the video on it and all that. It's actually kind of late at night when I'm recording this. But what we're talking about today is, first of all, that video of her doing her escape attempt, or I should say not an escape attempt, her I was just trying to get fresh air attempt. So we got a few things to say about that, and then her antics in the courtroom. I'm just like, you just can't make this stuff up, right? So the way the video will work is, first of all, for the part about the non-escape attempt, we're gonna watch just some highlights of that. And what that is this evidence that the jury was shown of when she was being transported. And we'll talk about the overview of that here in a second. And then we're just going to look at, after that, the couple of video clips of what she was doing in the courtroom, what the judge had to say about that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on in. Now, for those who might not be following this, we are talking about the case against Letecia Stauch. It's currently in trial, and she is being accused of, allegedly at this point, obviously, taking the life of her stepson Gannon. He was 11 years old at the time, and so she's up against trial for that. Now, this took place back in 2020. And so she's on trial. We're going to see what happens. And she has pled not guilty by reason of insanity. And I don't know if that's going to work out for her. Now, particularly the first thing we're going to look at is when she was being transported from South Carolina back to Colorado. And she was going on Interstate 70. This is obviously police transport. And she was able to slip out of her handcuffs and do the next level stunt that we are about to watch, forcing them to pull over and the whole shenanigans to begin. So with that being said, I'm just going to share some clips and to use this as talking points with the particular video that was shown in evidence to the court. And let's go ahead and watch those clips now.
And she is manipulating her hands out of the handcuffs, and she obtains a Monster energy can, and she strikes Deputy James in the face with that full unopened can.
Now, this is one of the officers up there on the stand, just giving the context as to what's going on. So I wanted to include that part of it before we watch. So let's go ahead and now watch some of the evidence. And just remember that this is from the stream, so it's, a very small video. So just kind of bear with me, that type thing. Really pay attention to just what you're hearing. But this first clip we're going to watch is when she actually kind of slips out of it. So just if you're watching on your phone, just really get in there good with your eyes.
Stop. She keeps threatening me.
Stop.
She keeps on threatening me. I have stopped it. She keeps on.
She got out of the streets.
She keeps on. Threatening me.
Put your arm down.
I will for you. She keeps
Put
threatening
your arm down.
Put your arm down. She keeps
down.
threatening me the whole time.
Tisha, give me your arm.
I will to you.
Tisha,
not her.
Tisha, give me your
I will
arm.
to you, but not to her.
Cooperate with me. Cooperate with me.
I will with you, but not with her.
Cooperate with me.
I will with you, not with her.
I will with you, not with her. My God almighty. Sitting over there in the corner like some horror movie character, watching this play out, trying to tell the jury that she was insane at the time that she did this to poor little Gannon. And then they see evidence like this. police. Can't roll my eyes hard enough. Now, here's the thing that's scary about this. I mean, you see, and I mean, if you aren't able to see, I know it's a small video, how quickly something like that can happen when they're going. Now, I remember when this trial popped off, the case, and then we heard about this where she's being transported, and then like she tried to escape, and playing out in real time, you were just like, what is this? Like, how did we arrive here? But to see the video of it and how real it was, I mean, where I'm like, she just assaulted an officer. But not only that, the things that she's saying during this is crazy, right? I mean, this whole thing of, she's been threatening me the whole time. I will for you, but not for her, and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, she is gonna fit right in where she's going.
Tisha?
And we're with you. I said I would with you. You're on now. I said I would with you. I said I would with you. I said I wouldn't do this.
I mean, you hear her, she is completely coherent. She knows what she's doing. And again, what's interesting to me is I sit here and think and look at the, what we've seen, the evidence so far and whatnot. And, you see how much of, and again, I'm not a psychiatrist or anything like that, but to me, in my opinion, my sofa opinion, she just seems like she has a pretty heavy streak of the old narcissism going through her. And she has to be in control of everything, right? And so one thing that I was watching this and thinking is, okay, according to her little world here, this officer has been mean to her and rude to her or whatever this whole time. So her answer is to, slip out the cuffs, take a can, and strike the officer and, do this whole, thing that she does, this whole scene. So I'm thinking this, I'm like, oh, imagine what she would be like, and I've said this in so many of the videos about her. Like, if that's how she's going to react in that way, what was she like if, one of the kids was having a rough day all day long with her and giving her attitude? I mean, like, what would she resort to? Well, we clearly see, unfortunately, one level that she resorts to, right? I mean, we're on trial for it right now. So there's that, but like, just taking steps away from that, you can only imagine what she, whether it was Gannon, other kids, or whatever, or other people for that matter, the lengths that she would lower herself to when she felt like she had been wronged or if she was out of control, that type of situation.
Stop resisting.
I'm not resisting. I said I would with her.
Go ahead. I got her on.
I have the song.
Tisha, stop
I'm not
resisting. Yes, you are. Stop it.
They're talking to her like a dog, right? That's how you have to treat her. Stop it. Sit. Roll over. Wouldn't it be funny if Roscoe behind me was doing all those things? He ain't trained like that, okay? He's not trained like that.
You just got another charge.
Well, she shouldn't be doing me like this.
So that's her reasoning. Well, she shouldn't be doing me like this. Now, remember, they're transporting her back. They've arrested her. The charge of Gannon, all this stuff is hanging over her head, right? This is how she responds to it. Well, she shouldn't be doing me like this. So you're going to, in the seriousness of this, do all this. But again, if you followed this, when all this was going on, you saw the video, the interview of her on the news, right? So, I mean, that's the part that just blows my mind with her, is that on one hand, she wants you to think that she's innocent. She wants you to think that, well, at this point, that this was, she was insane at the time that she did it. But I think that's just a last-ditch effort because there's nothing else you can say with the evidence that they have against her. It's so plainly obvious that she did it. So there's almost like virtually no way to say like, not guilty, I didn't do it, because she tried every lie in the book, right? And none of it worked. But that's just the level that this goes to is so eerie to me, because again, all I keep thinking of in my mind is, well, what did Gannon live with on a daily basis? What did anyone around her live with on a daily basis, right? But I personally think that maybe she had like something extra out for Gannon, just because when you start looking at the, what she said about Gannon's mother and things of that nature, I feel like she probably had a special cold place in her for Gannon, right? I think he represented things to her that really set her off.
Stop trying to turn.
I'm not trying to turn.
She can stay that way the rest of the trip.
Here's what we want to do. We're going to the nearest detention facility.
Oh,
Everybody knows where.
oh, could you please untighten it from my hands?
Another thing that really runs all over me when we watch, particularly obviously this video or one similar to it, is how much the defendant wants their rights taken care of, their comfort taken care of, things of this nature, yet they were never willing to give that to their victim, right? Can you imagine what poor little Gannon begged for in his last moments or on a daily basis? We heard some of the evidence with him, crying about the burns on his arm. And was she going to sit here and, and comfort him and do all that kind of stuff, the things that she's asking for in this moment of her discomfort? Absolutely not. But the entitledness that she feels towards that is appalling.
Not right now, Keisha.
Yes, it's all my arms.
Lean forward. Lean forward so I can adjust it. Stop manipulating the thumb.
Eating you.
Now, just a side note, can you imagine? Remember, they're going from South Carolina to Colorado. Can you imagine transporting her that entire way? What you would have to deal with on basic stuff, just taking her to the restroom, doing things like that, just sitting in the car with her for that long. I mean, my God, I cannot fathom.
I got her what?
Can you turn the air on?
Is it my t-shirt?
Well, I asked for help for the air, and she's been nothing but mean to me the whole day.
Poor little thing. Poor little victim, Letecia. And again, just when you hear this kind of stuff, I'm just like, it's like the abuser, and I'm not trying to say she's in the abuse situation or anything like that at this point, but when they get a taste of their own medicine on some level, they can't stand that, right? And she's just going to sit here and like fight out and show out and do all this kind of stuff because she wants to be the one delving out orders. She wants to be the one in control. She wants to be the one delving out discomfort, this kind of stuff. And so now this just is a classic case of, consequences for your actions, right? And she can't deal with that at all. She hasn't been able to from day one. That's why she's gaslighted this whole situation.
Stop.
I can't breathe. Just open it so I can breathe. That's all I'm asking for is to breathe. I'm just asking to breathe. That's it. Is to breathe. That's all I want to do is breathe.
2600 Avenue. Right by Pretty Horses. On 70.
I'm not resisting her.
That's all I want to do is breathe. That's all I'm asking for is to breathe. I mean, seriously, it's just, and one thing I think is interesting about this too, at least in these clips, is notice that, first of all, she's having this interaction with the two women, the officers, right? Now, it sounds like the male was driving, but the first woman officer who she, has this altercation with, she's saying, she's been mean to me all day, she's been rude, this, that, and the other. The other female officer comes around, she has to interject, because remember, this is one thing I keep thinking in my mind when I'm like watching this and thinking about it. I mean, they're on an interstate, right? So they've had to pull over. I mean, think about having to pull over on an interstate for anything, right? I mean, that's stressful. When you're transporting someone who has been accused of what she's accused of, they've gotten out of their cuffs somehow, they've attacked an officer, they're trying to escape, all this kind of stuff. This is like where life can change in a split second. And these officers, I'm sure they go to work in the frame of mind every day of like, hey, anything can happen, right? I mean, they're in that line of duty, but nonetheless, it's like how quickly this escalates to, we're on the side of the road, this woman's going off, cars are zooming by. I mean, this has to be a frightening situation. I thought they handled themselves very well, right? Because my blood would have been boiling.
You're hurting my arm.
My phone is jacking up cold.
You're hurting my arm. You're hurting my arm. I just my arm. It's hurting my arm. Just let my arm up. It's hurting my arm.
The more you press against me, the harder I'm gonna press on the.
It's not the pressure point. It's my arm. It's bent backwards and it's hurting.
Again, all I just keep thinking of is Gannon crying, saying that he was concerned about the burns on his arm in that audio recording that we listened to, and her shooing him away and trying to talk about selling a sofa or something, to cover up whatever happened, And so I listened to this, and this just falls on deaf ears to me. Because again, I think that she's just showing out here. I say showing out, but you know what I'm saying. This is just what she does, right? This is her moment. It's let me, just be a nightmare. Let me be a nuisance. Let me try and, again, grasp onto some form of control. Because in this moment right here, at least when it was going down and she got the can and did this or that and hit the officer, she in her mind probably thinks I have some form of control at this point, right? Because she's orchestrating this chaos, and this is what people like her operate in, is this chaos, right? Just look at it. It's like she's not getting her way, so she just is this fury and flurry of chaos. And again, you just sit here and think like, my God, what would she do at the grocery store checkout if her coupons were expired?
I have Keith of Stauch in custody. She's just attempted to escape, and she's trying resisted.
I didn't try to escape.
I love how in the background she's going to sit here and try and tell them the whole time, like, I didn't try to escape. I just wanted to breathe.
Let me speak first, okay?
Okay.
As soon as you try to open that
Do
door.
you remember the last mile marker we hit?
The door so I could breathe. It's hot. I asked you to help me, but you just lean over and don't help.
One thing I thought was interesting, if you listen to the officer, if you heard that, she's talking to her like a little kid, like, let me speak first. And you probably have to deal with her in that way. Like, if you have ever run into people, and not even necessarily with personality types like this, but obviously sometimes like this, where there's something about them, right? And usually, like, your sixth sense, like, whatever that is, will kick in. This is how it is for me, at least. And you end up having to kind of talk to that person. I was like, hey, how's it going? Keeping it very light, almost like you do like a kid. Like, just like, hey, what's going on? What you been up to? Like, that kind of keeping things going, because that this person will go off at the drop of a hat, like that type situation. She just reminds me of that. Now, obviously, we've seen her go off in this situation, right? She's just getting all turned up with this woman, like, well, I was asking for air and da-da-da. And I love the fact that she's going to try and make them think, let's just rewind that whole thought process. You're being transported for all this stuff. The last thing I would want to do is to sit here in that situation and try and open a door myself. Whatever she did in the moment, it's like, girl, this is not the time to do that, to get some fresh air. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, no, that's called escape.
I didn't try to escape or anything. I legit opened up a door to breathe.
Detective Jessica Bethel with the Pennsylvania Sheriff's Office.
Again, also known as escaping. I'm just like, I tried to open the door to breathe. I'm like, girl, absolutely not. That is not how this works. That is called an escape attempt, But we've seen the lies that come through her mouth, from her mouth, of this entire trial, right? This is no surprise here. And at this point, with the jury watching this, I don't think that they would be surprised by this either, outside the level of surprise that you're watching this and looking at the context of, this is a woman who, number one, was, watching after these kids, this is a woman claiming her innocence, and this is not how an innocent person acts, right? Especially at this time, right, when this event took place. Now she's at least kind of like somewhat low-key admitting that she did it for a certain reason. There's that. But this is like, we're supposed to believe that this is a wrongly accused person, and I'm like, but you're living up to all the stuff that makes everybody think that, yeah, you did it.
I feel like it's breaking my wrist.
And then you'll have much stake between me, so if that's possible.
Relax.
I
Or
can't.
the pressure will get
But
worse.
if it gets worse, then guess what? I have to go to a hospital because she hurts me.
Again, I've said it a million times. Oh, if it gets worse, I have to go to the hospital. I just think about Gannon and those burns on his arm and the audio of him crying. And then I sit here and listen to this type of stuff and it just runs all over me. But again, the perpetrators who do this kind of stuff, they come first, right? It's their way or the highway. They need the red carpet treatment, but they will never give that to anyone else. Now let's go ahead and go on to the next little clip.
Go ahead and buff over. We're gonna make sure she's not gonna get out of her restraints this time. I'm gonna see if they have a belly belt, a real one.
Pretty Marius.
This isn't gonna happen again.
Pretty Marius.
She's lucky she didn't find herself hogtied on the floor of the van all the way from South Carolina to Colorado after that, right? She's lucky they got a place to go for the night and put her in the nearest facility. Because, my gosh, I mean, can you imagine? Now, let's go watch this next part. And this is the part I was talking about of her antics in the courtroom. So let's watch the beginning to hear what is being said that's happening.
It's come to our attention that during I think mostly the afternoon session of witnesses today, that the defendant has been flipping the bird potentially to witnesses or to our family that are here for Gannon. And there have been pictures that have been passed to me during this process. One, it's disrespectful to this court. It's disrespectful to this process. And I would ask the court to admonish her to refrain from acting this way in the future during the pendency of this case.
Okay.
I mean, my God. Part of me wonders if some of the stuff that she does like that is if she's in her world, God help me, I'm trying to put myself there, if she is trying to play up the insanity thing, like, you know, oh, this will make them think I'm crazy because who in their right mind would do this? I don't think she's calculated to that degree, though. I just think she's kind of a vile, evil person, and that's just who she is, right? She's just going to sit over there and flip people off because she's just an awful human being, right? But now on that flip side, what a horrible thing. You're already there, you know, whether you're a jury member, whether you're a family member, you know, whatever. You're already there in this terrible circumstances, you know, especially, you know, for Gannon's parents and, you know, loved ones and stuff. And then here Letecia is having done that, but now sitting there flipping you off and being that disrespectful. I mean, it's just shocking to me. But again, given the context of what we've seen, the evidence, her behavior, this is kind of, you know, just par on course.
I've not seen any of that, but on the other hand, the defendant is to my far right. I can see her some on a screen, but I'll just take it as is. Ms. Stauch, what you need to understand is that I can control the conduct of an awful lot of people in the courtroom, including yours. And don't do that. Don't show that kind of, don't be making disrespectful gestures to witnesses, to people, to family members, anything like that. You need to understand that if that continues, I can have you removed and the trial will continue without you. And you will sit in a holding cell in this building. And every time we take a break, I'll bring you back up to ask whether or not you can conform your conduct to what I'm requiring. If you choose to act in a disruptive behavior or disruptive fashion, I'll just have you removed and we'll continue on without you. And then we'll check and see if you want to come back and behave in a respectful manner. So I'll just leave it at that. And we will see where we are on Monday.
Wow. I mean, can you imagine? I'm pretty speechless, right? I'm just sitting here like, oh my God. I mean, her attorneys have to be sitting there like, I mean, please just let this nightmare end. You know, what a terrible human being. You know, what a terrible human being to sit there and do this in the face of what she has, you know, done already, right? And to have to sit there and have a judge tell you that. I mean, my God, imagine what the jury thinks. I mean, let alone with the evidence that they've already seen in this case, right? Because it is bad, okay? But then to be sitting here doing this is not somebody that cares about their conviction, right? To me, this is somebody who knows, I'm getting convicted. I'm just going to sit in here and let everybody know what I really think about them. And this is what she really thinks about them. And this is the real her. This is the type person that you're seeing a meltdown occur over the years here because of she's not getting her way. All the way down from, or I should say all the way starting from, feeling like she should have been, her name, not run through the mud over the accusations of that she did this to Gannon and hiring the fake polygraph and all this stuff, fully well knowing that she's done this and trying to save face, or I don't even know what her motive was, and trying to clear her name for it. I don't know how she thought she would ever get out of it, right? But I just think she's at the end of her rope, and this is the real her. This is someone who doesn't care about anyone else, and nor do they care about themselves, and is willing to go to the lengths of what she did to poor little Gannon. Now, if you're still watching, in fact, drop blue hearts down in the comment section for him. And that's it. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And until we gather around the old computer and Roscoe back there sleeping, I'll see y'all soon.